This episode is brought to you by Zencastr. Zencastr is the #1 tool for all podcasters. You can record high-fidelity audio between remote locations and get studio-quality sound. Go to Zencastr.com and use coupon code THATENTERTAINS for 20% off for 3 months or 20% off an annual plan.
Everything is Awesome is part of Courts and Parts, a podcast network featuring pop culture, TV, movie, and geek podcasts. Check out some of our other shows, like TV Ate My Brain, Let's Chat with Revelant Friends, and Podstalgic at courtsandparts.com.
Awesome. Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome. 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 That was awesome. You guys are awesome.
No.
You're awesome.
No.
You are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Hey, welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and it's the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. If you can tell, I am whispering, and that's because I'm in the middle of vacation. It is pretty early in the morning, and I am recording this moments before we're about to release this week's episode. So, forgive me for the whispering. Hopefully in post it sounds a little bit better. Make sure you find the show on Twitter at RealAwesomePod. You can also find me on Twitter at ThatNerdyKev. Please show all the support that you can for this show by simply visiting awesomepodcast.com and listening to the show and spreading the good word to your friends and family and whoever is willing to listen to talk to people. I think it's pretty interesting conversations, at least. Make sure you also support us by going to iTunes, leaving a 5-star rating and review. That Apple math makes it so that it's higher in the ranking, and more people that see that will likely listen to us, and the cycle will continue. And the more people that listen to us usually means the cooler things we can do, like live shows, which we'll get to in a second. You can also support us on patreon.com/thatentertains. Right now, I don't think the page is active, but starting August 1st, it will be. And I believe in 2 weeks, we'll be having an episode to explain more of that and to explain some big announcements with Everything is Awesome. So check that out in 2 weeks on the last July episode. This week's episode is not an interview. This is actually a live show we did at South Street Cinema. So big thanks to Bill Arrowood from South Street Cinema for allowing us to go there. We screened the movie Army of Darkness, and then we sat around and talked about it for an hour afterwards. And it was Mike and me. Of course, he's my live co-host. Him and I sat around doing the live show to talk about Army of Darkness and horror movies in general and whatnot, and then we actually had Bill hop on in the middle of the conversation, so you'll hear him come in. So if you're in the Philadelphia area, make sure you check out South Street Cinema. It's $5 movies, and they're all weird movies like Army of Darkness, and just great times. In fact, our friends over at I Like to Movie will be doing a Nick Cage themed game show with a screening of a Nick Cage movie on July 28th. So July 28th from 8 to about midnight. You can come out and enjoy a game show from I Like to Movie as well as a Nick Cage movie. I'm going to try to be there. I should be there. So come say hi if you see me. And well, without further ado, let's get on with the show. I'm not going to do an outro like I normally do. So check out everything on awesomepodcast.com, courttemparts.com, and at ThatNerdyKev, at RealAwesomePod, all the usual suspects. Just Google South Street Cinema. I'll have official links in the show notes. All right, thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time right here on awesomepodcast.com. We've been awesome. Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am Kev, and I'm joined by...
My name is Mike.
So we are recording post-screening of Army of Darkness in South Street Cinema. It's a quiet evening, and I love recording on location even. What are you doing? For those listening at home, Mike just tried to bite the microphone like a T-bone steak. So yeah, we just got done the screening of Everything Is Awesome. Or no, that's our podcast of Army of Darkness,
which is awesome.
So you had seen it as a child, and forgot everything about it until tonight.
Yeah, and I'm watching it and I'm like, man, every one of these scenes looks familiar. But it must have been like something where, like, as a kid, like, you're only like halfway paying attention. So like, seeing all the scenes again, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, like I've seen this movie before.
So and one of the things that you said, we took like a small break after the movie to go grab Duncan. You said, man, that's not a B movie, that's a C movie.
Yeah. And I mean, like, when you think about like the other movies that came out around that time, before that time, like you think about like other like fantasy movies, because I would say that this is very much a fantasy movie mixed with horror.
Yeah.
You think about like things like Princess Bride, Willow, things like that. And I mean, those for the time were not what I would consider A movies. I would consider them B movies. So to put this in the same category as that,
interesting.
I mean,
I think it's perspective. You know,
probably. And I mean, Raimi. I mean, he never stood out to me as like, if you look at like Hercules and Xena, and you look at like, you know, other like action series at the time, like it was a little bit more, you know, reserved. He goes big, he goes slapstick, and I mean, in my mind, I think that's what I'd say is like kind of like a C. Like, again, this is kind of like your Sharknado, you're the sand.
Oh no, see, I don't think so. I think this is definitely in that B movie range, and
I think, like you said, it's a matter of perspective.
Yeah, it's. And if you look at so you don't remember the other Evil Dead movies. You did watch one of them.
I might have. What did we watch one at Jonesy's or something? Yeah, it's nice bed music.
Oh, I didn't even realize I had it all. I thought I had it down all the way. We have a little ambient Army of Darkness music. That's
just the title screen, just playing over and over and over.
I like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So. We did not at a Tom and Aaron's house way back in the day when we used to do weekly movie nights and whatnot. No. We did Evil Dead, and you were there for I think all of it, because the key thing I remember from that was this so like what I consider B movie, shot of the cabin in the woods, and they needed the full moon, and you can't tell on VHS, but when you're on high def DVD, they literally cut a picture out of the moon and like put it there because the background and sky was different, but. Yeah, what I really like about Army of Darkness is you don't need to see any of the Evil Deads before it, because it's its own thing.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely can tell that there were things that happened beforehand because of the first like 5 minutes of the movie where he's like, this happened, this
and
happened,
also
this happened.
Yes, it also recaps it. Fun fact is like the dropping of the car and Ash was at the end of Evil Dead 2. But they had to reshoot that whole scene again for Army of Darkness because it was different studios that did that. But yeah, so I think Army of Darkness. What's not having seen all the Evil Deads, and you know, in your case, the thing that is kind of weird to me is how we get to the Ash Williams everyone knows and loves today, which is basically the guy you just saw in Army of Darkness. Because to me, that's not the same character in Evil Dead 1. He kind of morphs into that in Evil Dead 2, but like he's still not all the way there.
Evil Dead 1 and 2 are they're the more, like you were saying, they were more like straight up horror, right?
To me, Evil Dead 1 was trying to be horror.
Yeah.
And they didn't purposely get slapstick silly with it. They just happened to fall into it, and it worked really well for that movie. And then Evil Dead 2 is practically a retelling of that movie.
It's kind of like what I do with my books, and I just retell them 3 times over 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I really love. They did a comic. Garrett and I went up to Red Bank, New Jersey for when they first were doing Comic Book Men, and he was auditioned. Like, he got an audition to be on the third crew member or something like that.
Okay.
And I went up with him, and I bought this Army of Darkness trade paperback not Army of Darkness. It was Evil Dead, and it bridges the gap between the first of 2 movies, where like basically he dreamt the entire first movie. And while I don't know if that's necessary canon, it's my canon because I need something to like. Evil Dead 2 shouldn't exist because it's literally a retelling of Evil Dead 1.
Now, is it Evil Dead 2 that shouldn't exist, or is it Evil Dead 1 that shouldn't exist because Evil Dead 2 is better?
I like. I haven't watched Evil Dead 2 in forever. I've watched Evil Dead 1 recently because I watched it back to back with the reboot that they did a few years ago.
With the gender bent Ash?
Well, her name was Mia.
Oh, okay.
And I'm really upset that they didn't go forward with what their plan was. They were going to do an Evil Dead 2 sequel to the reboot, Army Darkness 2. And then they were going to do another film that was going to bridge them together.
So it was going to be Ash and Mia.
Yes, yeah. And at the end of, spoilers, of the Evil Dead reboot, after post-credits, you just get like an ominous-looking Ash where it's just like a black background and him kind of like fading into it, turning to the camera and going groovy. And that's like, and it was a neat reboot. I enjoyed it. But Evil Dead 2, I don't really remember. I prefer Evil Dead 1 just right now in this moment because it's a group of friends going to the cabin versus Evil Dead 2. As you saw in the recap, it was just him and Linda. Yeah. BT Dubs, how weird was it that literally he gets transported to 1300 AD and, you know, literally his girlfriend died maybe 48 hours before that. And now he's already hooking up with someone else.
C-movie. That's a C-movie thing.
So did you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that kind of movie. You just have to, that's what you're watching.
Yeah. I think that it is the movie you need to get to like Ash versus Evil Dead, the TV series. Because even that, like if you look at Ash Williams, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and then Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I know you probably haven't watched.
No, I mean, and every time that we're going to, I think Rihanna goes, no, it's going to be scary. And
it's not scary. It's a comedy more. I think it's a comedy first and foremost. Yeah.
Yeah, and that might even be too much for her. I mean, she sees people puking on screen and she gets nauseous. So she's a big wimp.
Yeah, I think you just have to flip the switch on and you're good.
Yeah, it's not so much. It's not so much that it's scary, but it is a lot gorier than this is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this was originally going to be NC-17 until they convinced them that all the gore was happening to skeletons. And they're like, well, it's not really people, so it's just puppets. It's okay.
Yeah, and Ash vs. Evil Dead is gory if that's the thing she doesn't like.
Yeah, she'd wimp out, unfortunately.
But it's slapstick gore to me. Like it's like that the pit with all the blood rushing out of it. That's what I think Ash maybe a little bit more intense.
She might be able to pull it off. And I know like she loves Lucy Lawless. She loved Xena. She loved Hercules. So I mean, this is really right up her alley.
I would say the show for sure.
Oh no, they're clearly having a good time. Like everybody in the show, you watch Ash vs. Evil Dead. Like they're just.
It's a vacation for them, and they just happen to be getting paid.
And it's one of those things that you can see that they're people that are like each other, and they're just kind of fudging around.
Yeah,
This is all right.
I really enjoyed it. I still have to watch the last 2 episodes of what's now the final season to be fully caught up. But it's the one thing, like the show in the first season steered away from Army of Darkness. Like it didn't really mention that. It didn't mention the time travel, which I get. Like that gets convoluted.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about that and like maintain like.
But season 2, I think what they wanted to do is they wanted to establish themselves. Season 1, and then season 2, they make references to it, which is neat. And that was like I'm a continuity guy. Like I like my universes. I like my Marvel universe, and I needed this to officially be in canon again.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of continuity, did you guys mention the incredible cameo in this movie that was not from Evil Dead 2? That is the 6-second silent cameo in the beginning of this movie. Did you mention that?
We
one?
did not mention that. What Bill's talking about is Bridget Fonda playing Linda
for no apparent reason other than she had auditioned for Evil Dead 2, didn't get the part of Linda.
Oh, neat.
And then in the interim between those 2 movies, she got famous enough that she called Sam Raimi up and says, "Can I be in your movie now?" And he's like,
deserve it.
He's like, "Sure." And like a total recasting of the Linda character, and she has no lines. And we were watching the beginning of this movie, and we're like, "Wait, who is that?" And we're like, "That's Bridget
Yeah,
I don't
we
remember
had to
her
go
being in
into
this movie.
IMDb and everything.
Like,
to
like,
go figure
no
it out.
no one remembers her being in this movie at all, but it was a total slide-in cameo. Like clearly, like she was in the neighborhood that day. It's like, you want to be in the S-Mart scene? Sure, I do.
And I think that's the third recasting of Linda, because isn't Linda in the first one?
Yeah, it's a different person literally every single movie.
Yeah,
That's funny.
And that's like the weird. We were talking earlier, like the Evil Dead 2 is like a reboot.
It's Evil Dead 2 is like the Desperado to El Mariachi of Evil Dead movies. It's the same exact movie, just with a little better budget and a little better storytelling.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first Evil Dead, what did he make that for? Like $18,000, something like
super cheap.
Literally $50,000. They went out in the woods and just farted around.
And I mean, they went like door to door to like dentist office to fund that movie.
Okay.
Which is like, that's always been my bar when like 10, 15 years ago when we first, like when you've always been into like acting and stuff. But when I like finally got into the idea of maybe like writing and directing, I was like, why don't we just like go to a bunch of dentist offices?
Right. Just like Ed Wood did. You get the Baptists and the dentists and get them to finance your horror movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think, and the first Evil Dead is definitely, it's very much gateway, entry level horror, like low budget, because we do horror movies here. And we do an open screen night, so people bring their like 15-minute films, and scary shit in the woods, haunted stuff is definitely entry level filmmaking horror. Like everybody has got a movie like, we went out in the woods and we chased each other around. Like that's our movie. Like, so I think that's what he did.
Yeah.
I also found it really interesting that this movie got made because of Darkman, because Darkman was successful.
Yes.
And like can't imagine remembering that Darkman was a financial success.
No, and they made 3 of them.
Yeah.
They made 3 of them.
Yeah, with Lenny.
Yeah, and I do. I mean, I've watched that first one at least once, and that's Liam Neeson starring in that movie, right?
No, is it Liam Neeson or is it Lenny from the from ER? It's like the he's gonna look it up right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
They may have changed hands at one point.
Oh yeah, because Liam Neeson, I think, was attached to one of the Darkman movies.
Yeah, he may have been the first Darkman, and they changed it over with some other big, goofy. And
who was the first one?
It was Liam Neeson in the first one. Let me see if I can bring up the second one.
Yeah.
And then of course Bruce Campbell. I think
that was Larry Drake.
Yeah, Larry Drake, who was
and then Jeff Fahey was.
Oh, Jeff Fahey.
Yeah.
Woof,
so you're talking about the Lawnmower Man. Yeah.
Wow.
And what's his face from Lost?
What a piece of crap movie.
I actually think I own the Darkman trilogy because I was in like this.
And Arnold Vosloo,
on
the
VHS?
mummy himself, is also in it.
Actually, on DVD, I own it. I was in a Bruce Campbell kick like 20 years ago, probably when I was 15, and I bought everything that was.
Is he in Darkman?
He's in the first one
for like 5 minutes.
For like maybe that. I think at the end.
Every Sam Raimi, right?
Yeah, he's in every.
Sam Raimi?
Yeah. The first one.
Yeah, him, Bruce and his nephew are in all of his movies.
Yeah, and it's I think he's credited as Shemp.
Ted's in this. Yeah,
Ted's his nephew.
Ted's his nephew.
I thought they were brothers for some
reason. Oh
yeah,
I thought they were. Is that
they
his
brothers?
I thought it was his younger brother.
Oh yeah, maybe no. I'm thinking of Ted Demme. It was Jonathan Demme's nephew. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. It's I think Sam's the oldest, and then Ivan is maybe the middle, and then Ted's the youngest.
Ivan's the co-writer.
Yeah,
right, but Ted's in all of them.
Yeah, Ted's in everything.
Ted actually, I don't know if you caught up, but he had 2 roles in Army.
Actually, 3 roles in Army of Darkness.
Snap.
Oh, yeah. I definitely saw him twice.
Yeah.
He was probably a Deadite too. That's probably the one I missed.
Is he one of the secondary ashes or whatever, the mini ashes?
No, he is. Well, he's definitely at the end.
Yeah.
And then he's in.
He's in that.
He's in the
scene
final
where they're
battle.
talking about.
He's literally on screen for like 5 minutes in the final battle. And
Yeah.
I think he's
one of the guys who's saying like, "You have my torch" or whatever.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, I think he's in the opening scene as one of the guys in the line.
Okay. Yeah, I love his cameos. Was he in the? I think was he in the Evil Dead reboot?
I have no idea.
I'm sure he was. If
Yeah,
Sam Raimi had a hand in it.
Well, yeah,
Dude was
they
even
produced
in freaking I don't know the horror reboot thing with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh,
the Grudge or whatever.
The Grudge.
It was.
Yeah,
he was even in that. So
I love Ted Raimi. I love because he's such like a he. I think he's even more comedic than Bruce Campbell. Just like
he don't
looks.
care. He don't care.
Yeah,
No.
I love just thinking of Bruce Campbell. Watching some of the behind the scenes of other I think it was probably Jack of All Trades. His go-to thing back in the day. Oh, I love that show.
It's a deep cut.
I love it. I love it. His go-to like audition was that flip that he did into the pit. Like I've seen that before while like I think he was doing a panel or something, and just he grabs himself by the back of the neck and flips himself over.
All right.
It's I don't know. It's my little deep cut Bruce Campbell knowledge.
There you go.
I think you would like, because you said this was like it was my Dreamcatchers where I like it. You think it's bad, I like it. And
you're the only person who likes Dreamcatchers, by the way.
Thank you.
I heard that in the pre-show, and I was like, I literally left the room when you said that.
I imagine you were like sitting down, like your head was down and everything, and he said, "I like Dreamcatchers." And your head just popped up. You're like, "What?"
That's a terrible.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
I really enjoy it.
And Stephen King movies are like notoriously bad, like in general. Like there's very few that he does that are good. I mean, that adapt well. I mean, you're talking like Shawshank Redemption. Like that's a good Stephen King movie.
Yeah, but when you put Shawshank Redemption and Lean on Me and stuff like that in a category, that's a whole different thing than trying to.
Yeah, it's a different genre.
The whole trying to say what the Langoliers was a good movie or not. the TV adaptation of.
I think they're redoing the Langoliers. I think they're going to do another TV reboot of that
because there's no ideas out there at all.
Well, all of Stephen King's stuff because of it is like let's just see what we can redo again.
Yep.
Despite Dark Tower not doing well.
Yeah, I don't know what it was about that. I think it's too much to ask people to get involved in that, especially when it was supposed to be kind of like it's not a straight adaptation of the books.
It's a quasi sequel, right, to the books.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like the last cycle or whatever it is.
Right, but again, the Dark Tower is a lot like Lord of the Rings. That if it's such a big world, you try to compress it too much. It's like, well, you have no idea. Only the real fans are into it, and the rest of the world, it's not a large enough slice for them to sell into.
Yeah.
Whereas the Lord of the Rings has this massive following that didn't really matter how good or bad those movies were. People were going to watch all of them.
Yeah. And I think part of the problem too is, I mean, the fans know how big that world is. They know how big the stories run and everything, and they're saying, "Yeah, we're just going to do one movie and then we'll see how it goes."
Right.
That's not what a fan wants to hear. They want to hear we're going to give this the.
What's the TV movie with Molly Ringwald and the kid from Parker Lewis, where the world ends and like they divide up into they go to Denver or they go to Florida. What the hell is that movie?
Hold on, I'm going to be the IMDb guy.
Yeah, no, it's
Molly Ringwald. You said right?
Yeah, it's oh crap! I can't remember what it's called, but the best part of that movie is it was a made-for-TV movie in the '90s. Which, again, I think you have to learn to appreciate the era that certain things come out.
Yeah,
this movie came out at exactly the right time. We were doing a couple movies here from like the late '90s. We did Lost in Space last week. Next month we're doing Blade, and you learn to appreciate the exact slice of time that something comes out and what's around it, and like that's good for that time.
I don't know if Lost in Space was good for that time.
No, it wasn't. But like you learn to appreciate it in the what's around it. Like
I feel like I would watch that today. Just
also 1998, Godzilla and Armageddon, and
I mean Godzilla was kind of all right,
except for the monster itself. But Hank Azaria.
But Armageddon was fantastic and still is.
You give it a pass for Hank Azaria. I know that.
Yeah,
and Harry Shearer. You got half the Simpsons in that movie, so it's fun.
Yeah, I loved both of the disaster movies that came out around then.
Armageddon's good. That's still.
But I mean, you look at that era. You're like, well, this is what movies at this time. I think one of my favorite things is somebody did a Hercules Legendary's Journey intro of Game of Thrones.
That's amazing.
Like they recut the beginning. So it's like this is what this would have looked like if this came out in 1998.
And that's true. I mean, that's exactly how because that's how that show would have been.
You're talking about Jack of.
All trades,
Jack of all, and Bristol County, and which is a great show, totally underrated, amazing.
It was only one season, right?
One season.
Yeah, they all are. If it's Bruce Campbell in a starring role, save for Ash vs. Evil Dead,
well,
it's all one season.
Burn Notice, he was on that forever. But he's not really a star.
Yeah,
he's not his vehicle. He's just in it.
Yeah. Now I feel like he became like a big billing in that show because his character was great, but it was all about.
Well, I mean, they even gave him his own little spin-off movie.
Yeah. I love that. That was a good show. It was.
Yep.
Bruce Campbell's secret is to be like the secondary guy.
Yep.
Or Ash vs. Evil Dead when you take that icon, because Army of Darkness. I think the whole reason we I wanted to do this because it's 25 years old. It came out in '93, right?
Yeah.
In like February. I think we missed like the official 25 years. I think it was April.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
And it's
Still this year, it's fine.
Yeah. And it's like the character's still great. It still works. Obviously, for at least
it's such
3
a
years with
quotable
Usher.
movie.
Yeah,
that's I think ultimately like what catches a lot of people, and they don't even realize that they know the quotes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Warcraft remixes some of the quotes for their characters and stuff like that. I mean, like this stuff comes up a lot. So I was trying to whisper to Kev during the movie the Klaatu Veratu Nektu. That didn't originate here. That was
that's from The Day the Earth Stood Still.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
I knew that was familiar.
Klaatu Veratu Nikto is the signal that he gives the alien gives to Gort to destroy the Earth.
And I can't remember. In that,
And
is
it's-
that
and-
also
and-
he forgets
and-
what it is?
Huh?
Is that he also forgets that in the
Yeah.
Day the Earth Stood Still?
No.
Okay.
No, that's just Ted's joke here.
So
But-
that's my
Yeah.
remembering. From
Yeah,
30 years ago, or 25 years
it's
ago.
also like that's an in joke in a lot of like that's such an iconic sci-fi movie for directors. They've worked into a lot of other things. There are 3 Star Wars characters named Klaatu, Veratu, and Barata and Nikto. Like so, it's like
Oh wow.
so like it's that's an in joke. There's a bunch of those, but yeah, you're right. This is a very quotable movie. I think one of the things you really see in this movie, you guys mentioned earlier, talking about one of my favorite movies, which is Bubba Hotep, is you can really see the early beginnings of Bruce as Elvis in this movie.
Yeah.
very
Yes.
much so. You know,
groovy.
yeah.
Hail to the King.
And this is like it's also proto Johnny Bravo.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
very much like he's just this is who he is. He's that kind of cool. I mean, Don Coscarelli and Bubba Hotep it's one of my favorite movies. It really is.
It's funny when I first saw that. I saw it on DVD. I picked it up because I missed it in the theater. It probably had a very short, limited run.
I think it was at the Ritz for like a week.
Yeah, and so I picked up when it was up on DVD. I was like, oh, it's Bruce Campbell. It's back in my probably that came out on DVD in the middle of my Bruce Campbell kick. I bought it. I watched it. I was like, what the hell? It was the first time I watched the movie. I was like, what did I just watch? And then I've rewatched it since, and I love it. Like, is a good.
It is a rich tapestry, is what it is.
It's a movie that I enjoy watching now.
Yeah, you so were into it that like I've never seen it personally, but you were the one who was talking me up about it.
Well, we have it here. We could watch it right now.
Oh my god! If I had all the time in the world, yeah, it is. It's a special movie that is. It's fun, and it's one has those like legendary stories about the sequel that he's supposed to like go
right.
fight vampires or something.
Yeah, and which is never going to happen. But it's
that's the kind of idea. Like they're going to talk about this awesome sequel that never happens.
That's the same sequel as is Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League. It's the same sort of like. Yeah, that's coming somewhere, but it's never actually coming.
Yeah, and it's
I've been waiting 30 years for Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League.
And we almost got a TV series. It was going to remake the first one.
Oh yeah, it was
with Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith was going to do it for a hot minute.
And then his season 2 was going to be the sequel.
Right.
But yeah, then a bunch of nonsense behind the scenes happened.
Right.
I have all of Molly Ringwald's, all of her movies here. You're going to have to scroll through and see which one it is. I started in like the 90s because I thought that was what you said.
It's definitely not for keeps.
Not 16 Candles.
Not 16.
Does this make you...
Although we really do want to show Space Hunter across the Forbidden Zone, but I desperately need it in 3D to do that. It's The Stand.
Oh, is that what it is?
The Stand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Stand. We're literally halfway through the movie. The final scene is a CGI hand of God. Hand to God. A hand reaches down from the sky and touches the bad guy and kills him like a cartoon hand, like Monty Python comes down and goes, "You're dead now."
They remade
awesome.
It for
I think
theaters,
that,
right? Because I think isn't The Stand supposed to be like one of those like acclaimed?
Yeah, it was a giant movie, but like it was Parker Lewis, Kent Lewis, and Molly Ringwald.
Yeah.
Okay, because she was in a TV miniseries version of it.
That's that one. That's a TV.
I think they redid it. I'm almost 100% sure.
It sounds familiar. It sounds like they did.
It's awful.
So would you, Mike, watch any other Evil Deads or Ash vs. the Evil Dead based on this movie? That's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, I've never ever had anything against the movie. Like I said, I've watched it before. I just forgot that I had watched the entire thing because I was so young when I watched it. I wouldn't have anything opposed to it. I mean, like I said, when you know what kind of movie you're going into, and even if I hadn't known going into it, I would have adjusted well enough to be like, all right, this is that kind of movie.
It's not Marvel.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not a snob when it comes to films like that. So
Well, and I think when you're, if you know Bruce Campbell,
Yeah,
you're walking into like, I mean, what was Bill? You may know what was the movie that was? It was he played himself, Bruce Campbell versus something.
I don't know. He's got the IMDb.
Yeah.
But it was like a pseudo documentary where it's like,
Yeah.
It was a very tongue in cheek. But that's legitimately nice guy. Like he, as advertised, is a couple of times I've met him in person. He's very much like, hey buddy.
Yeah, and what I love is, and we mentioned this in like the pre-show, is that he also has this like
he has this highly stylized version of himself.
Yeah, and he seems to always be on.
It's this fake. It's him.
It sells really well.
Yeah,
it's him as him doing him.
Yeah,
which is a great way to if your persona is an asshole, that's a great way to sell yourself.
Yeah, and it's like
my name is Bruce.
My name is Bruce.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and that's a great movie. Like I there's not many of his movies that I've watched that I was like, whew, or TV shows. Like I mean, I was introduced to him in the Hercules Xena era. When he played.
So
I can't pronounce the name.
Autolycus. Yeah, the Prince of Thieves.
Yeah. And that was like that's the character that like.
Was he in Charmed?
Yes, he was. Yep.
Oh God.
Obviously, he was in the Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah. I mean, and each character he played there was great. And he stopped. I love that he played up the fact that in Spider-Man 2 he stopped.
Time Cop.
He stopped Spider-Man.
Got
run down some of his movies while you're scrolling his.
All right, so I'm going to go to the very beginning and we'll see what his first movie was.
I think Evil Dead was one of his.
I think his first one was it's something Woods.
So he was in a short called Oedipus Rex.
That doesn't count. That's just that's just.
I mean, we're talking like way early.
They actually did a short version of the Evil Dead that was. I think helped them finance it through the dentist's office.
There's the Evil Dead in 1981,
and that's his first big role.
Yeah.
Everything else before that was sort of like he was just
shorts.
in stuff as a working actor.
Yeah, so we've got something called Going Back. I don't know if it's a short or not.
Yeah.
If your character's name is your actual name,
so this one is close. It's Bryce Chapman.
Yeah, that means you were probably just in the background and they gave your character a name like the
yeah.
And then Evil Dead 2. Well, he was uncredited in Thou Shalt Not Kill, but Evil Dead 2. So I guess that first one that I mentioned in 1981 was the actual Evil Dead.
Yeah.
So Evil Dead 2, 6 years later.
Right, and then
he did TV, Knots Landing.
Nice.
Nice.
That's
Maniac Cop, Generations, Sundown, The Vampire in Retreat.
Oh, that's all
Maniac
restaurant
Cop
quality
2,
lemonade.
Darkman.
I think he plays the dark man role at the last 5 minutes or last 2 minutes or something.
Eddie
as the
Presley.
And again, it's tragic to look at this movie and look how young and handsome he is at 19. It was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So, he's 25. He's 50 now. So it's like
yeah, he's
that's
put
what it
on
looks
weight.
like.
You look
But
at Sam Max. Sam Max is a heavier dude
we
and
all.
everything like that.
Yeah,
but you know what? He slimmed down a lot for
Let's
the
not-
Comic-Con attendance that we had seen.
Let's not judge about getting old and putting.
Well, we're living, breathing.
Yeah.
But yeah, when Rhiannon and I saw his panel at Comic-Con, it wasn't like.
Well, even in Ash vs. Evil Dead, like he does. I mean, he looks like an old version of of that, but like he doesn't look like. I mean, he could be really letting himself go, and he doesn't.
Well, so here's an interesting thing. He was in The Quick and the Dead, but his scenes were deleted.
Yeah, and that was who directed that?
Sam Raimi.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
I did not know that.
Sam Raimi's
I
Quick
did
of the
not
Dead,
know
right?
that at all.
But
that is a fantastic movie.
But I'm correct, right? That's a Sam Raimi movie.
I will let you know.
It's at least
what it feels like.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah, because think of all the quick cuts.
Yeah,
and
the quick cuts and the weird spin camera moves and everything
that's
like that.
What I love about the Evil Dead series.
It's probably a gunfire that got shot down and just didn't make the
probably cut. Yeah. I mean, that's a fantastic movie.
Well, that's I love that the Evil Dead movies. Whether you like them or not, it changed the game. Sam Raimi changed the game on how to direct. Like he came up with these unique ways to shoot.
And how many times have we seen since this movie the following the arrow shot or the Thor following the hammer shot and stuff?
Could you imagine this movie in 3D?
Oh my God!
How awesome it would be if it was a 3D movie.
I would love. I still obviously
because this feels like the 1980s. It feels like the Friday the 13th and Freddy 3Ds of that era that were that last grasp at 3D where they're just doing really dumb.
Yeah. I would love, and it's a shame that we're not going to get any more Ash Williams, at least the way we know. He's officially said he's done. But I would love for them to still do a sequel to this particular movie because it's it's just a fun world.
You mean the official, the director's cut ending where he goes to 300?
Well, I think that was the sequel, yeah.
Well, no, the director's cut had him landing 1,000 years in the future.
Yeah.
And then
fighting robots.
Exactly, fighting the evil dead in the future of a dystopian, war-torn London. So it's like,
I feel like, and like you said earlier, it's just people having fun at that point. Like, it was Sam Raimi going like, you know what? It's basically like what Adam Sandler does for all his movies right now, where it's like, hey, I'm just going to take my friends to this vacation spot and we'll film some crappy movie for, 30 days and then I'll give them a car.
30 days.
I don't know, for 30 minutes.
Adam Sandler movies film in 11 days. And that's with 2 days off on the weekend.
All right, so not film, but they'll be there.
They'll be there for the month. Yeah. Filming every now and then, every couple hours.
I mean, there's no forethought put into writing, so it's really easy to get to it.
It's all improv.
Now, I haven't watched
Adam, you got to get through this door. Okie dokie, I'm going to get a
I haven't watched many of his Netflix movies, if any. Are they awful? Are they as awful as I think they are?
It's the first one that he did.
The Hateful
that
Six?
was not terrible. Well, it was terrible, but it was like a step below like what you expect. Like
Adam Sandler.
It was a parody. It was clearly done as a straight parody of Hateful Eight.
Yeah. And it was tolerable enough for us to finish it.
Right, and if that's your jam, it hit all the notes.
Yep.
But if you're looking for actual comedy, no Blazing Saddles. I can just tell you that right now.
What's his face? Taylor Lautner was surprisingly funny in that.
Right, but again, has no business in it.
No. Yeah. But they did have the Spade movie after that, right? The one where him and Spade, and that was again
the do-over.
Yeah, that was basically tolerable.
I think I did see that one.
I don't think that either of those two would be as bad as Jack and Jill.
Oh no, it's a true story. That's a true story. Or he's my boy.
Oh man!
All right, but forgive me for hijacking, but I think we're digressing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were talking horror.
That's a true story.
Well, like I said, I love this movie, Army of Darkness, and I love the world that it came from. Ash vs. Evil Dead. I actually, when I get home tonight, I'm going to rewatch. Well, not rewatch. I'm going to watch the last 2 episodes of the season.
And it's Showtime, right?
Stars.
But I think it's shifted to Hulu if you have the Hulu. So
okay. Yeah, there you go.
It's one of those ones that's now that it's off of like the first season is now
so they're just
somewhere else.
They can.
Yeah,
so
it was I think on Netflix for like a very hot
second. That's where it was on Netflix. It was on one of the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Even if Rihanna won't watch it, I give it. It is like as Bill said, it's way gorier than this, but it's also like. It takes the character in like a fun new direction in each and every season, and it's like I really am gonna be sad watching the last 2 episodes because if he's not coming back to the character, it's also a character I don't think like we'll kind of wrap on this note. That's 20, 30 years from now. Would you want to see anyone else playing the character of Ash Williams?
I mean, no, but I didn't want to see anyone else play Bill Shatner's Captain Kirk either, and I'm still not happy about it. But like it happened, so it's like one of those.
Yeah.
I think the advent of people out of ideas in the movies means that they've already rebooted the Evil Dead.
Yes.
So so it's not like I just don't think you'll see anyone being Ash Williams. I think you'll see someone else doing this movie again with a different character that is that character
in that role.
In that role. Yeah.
What did you think of the rebooted Evil Dead?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No interest in it whatsoever.
Oh, really?
No, because my limit in horror goes to horror comedy.
Okay.
And that was not horror comedy.
No, it wasn't. It was. I don't know if their plan was to follow the same path that Sam did with his, where it was like they trying to be serious. Because that's the way I see Evil Dead. The first Evil Dead, they were trying to be serious, but they didn't.
Well, it's just on their budget, they weren't serious.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I thought the new one, just like all the new reboots are slasher scary. They're a modern contemporary horror that I don't find appealing.
Okay.
Because it's just not my jam.
Yeah.
Like this movie is the one of these that I like the most because it's because there's it's not. This is more sci-fi comedy than Tahari to me.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't remember Evil Dead 2 to like comment on whether I like that more than Evil Dead 1 or not. And
there's a terrifying scene with a lady in a tree. That's what you need to remember.
Is that in the second one?
That is,
I thought that was the first one.
Second one.
That is the second one.
The second one. It's dark.
Yeah, I remember that scene because I when I watched the reboot, I was like, are they going to do that scene? Only because I thought it was from the first movie. That is from the second one. Wow. Yeah. That's how much they blend together because they're so similar.
The special effects are much better in the second one. That's why you know it's that one.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, I would. I would love to see another Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell, but
I mean, they could do it. Just make it an animated series. Or
oh
movie
God,
or
I would
something
watch
like
it. I wonder if he would come back and do the voice. I would totally watch an animated series or movie or something. That would be fun.
Yeah,
I think that'd be
fun. And he'd do it because he doesn't have to get out there. And
he can just wear his PJs.
Yeah.
Get the guy who did Johnny Bravo. If you can't get him, he can do his voice.
There you go. All right. Well, let's wrap up. It's getting kind of late. Bill, thank you for having us. Give out some plugs about South Street Cinema.
So tonight's episode was broadcast at the South Street Cinema at 327 South Street. We are a pop-up movie theater that sort of exists to show weird and strange and oddball stuff. We love having podcasts and things like this happen here. Our audience is very eclectic. You really honestly don't know what you're going to find here on a given night. Anything from Creatures from Black Lagoon in 3D to Splash to we have a Crazy for Swayze weekend coming up where we're going to do all Patrick Swayze all the time. So it's that sort of stuff that we sort of program to sort of find very non-traditional mode. People can find us at southstreet.com or on the Book of Faces at South Street Cinema.
Mike, about your plugs.
So I'm Mike DeAngelo. I am the writer of the Tellus series and the creator of Quantum Quest, the Tellus tie-in card game. You can find me at tellus.com. That's TELLEST.com. And I'm all over the place on social media at Tellus.
It's the main one.
Yeah, it's the main one.
And this is Everything's Awesome. You can find it on awesomepodcast.com. We're also part of the Core Temp Arts Podcast Network. You can find me on Twitter, where I do most of my tweeting, at ThatNerdyKev. We'll talk anything you want. I'm a big entertainment pop culture guy, so let's chat. And
you turned down a guy who had like a vineyard or something.
I think so. I didn't want to talk about that.
That's not awesome to Kev for some reason.
But yeah, hit me up on Twitter at ThatNerdyKev. At RealAwesomePod is Everything is Awesome on Twitter. And that's it. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. We've been awesome.
A peace.
Thank you for listening to the Core Temp Arts Podcast Network. To listen to more Core Temp Arts shows, visit coretemparts.com.